Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alicia Doyon, and today we have Lawrence presenting a follow-up to his first accessible cooking webinar. Lawrence is originally from the Bronx, New York, and is currently the executive producer of Abled and On Air, as well as a creator and anchor. Lawrence currently resides in Montpelier with his wonderful wife, Arlene. And just as a friendly reminder, this meeting is being recorded for future uses as well as being taped for Able and On Air.
And able to cook. Thank you for introducing me. Coming up on this edition of Able to Cook, we again partner with the Brain Injury Alliance for our second webinar on cooking with Lawrence. So coming up on Able to Cook, stay tuned. Accessibility in the kitchen, and also a pre-Thanksgiving segment using cutting boards and cleaning your kitchen. All that and much more when Able to Cook starts right now. Welcome to this edition of Able to Cook, the one and only program that focuses on cooking in the kitchen and accessibility in the kitchen. I'm Lawrence Seiler. My wife is not here today. On this edition of Able to Cook, we focus on more accessibility in the kitchen with me, and different things regarding accessibility in the kitchen. Welcome to Able to Cook, and thank you again to the Brain Injury Alliance of Vermont. So let's begin. Last time I spoke about accessibility in the kitchen. I'm going to go through some simple things again, and simple recipes as part of this. We're only doing about a half an hour today on shortness of time, but let's begin. Last time I spoke about, let me stand up and kind of show you basic things. If you're blind and visually impaired, now obviously this is a huge spatula, but last time on the last Able to Cook for the summer, I went over smoothies and I went over different things like that. So we're kind of doing the same thing today, but this is like a second part to it with a pre-Thanksgiving segment. If you're blind and visually impaired, as you can see, these are color-coded, if you can see it. I have it in red and black. These are tongs. You can use these for a grill. I'll get to the grill in a minute, and basically how to clean it. And this is a large spatula. Again, with this is known as tactile, or tactile means easy to hold, and it has an easy grip, as you can see. So when you're using a grill, you can basically flip whatever you're using or whatever food you happen to have on the grill. And tactile means that you can hold it in place, or basically, since now there are situations called gross motor and fine motor. So I'm going to go over that. If you happen to have, I deal with a brain injury. I was born with a brain injury called cerebral palsy. But I'm going to basically go over something that's extremely important. Let me get to it. It's called a gross motor and fine motor. Hold on. So as you can see, I'm holding this using my gross motor skills. Gross motor skills involve using large muscle movements like running, jumping, throwing and while fine motor skills are used for grasping objects. Gross motor skills are essential for learning balance and posture control. And fine motor, as you can see, I'm holding the spatula. So, I'm going to say this again. The kitchen is extremely dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. If you have a direct support professional, please ask their help. Um, and this is direct support professional month, by the way. So kudos to them. And so if you need assistance in the kitchen, please ask for it. Now, I'm going to go over the grill. Now, I didn't bring anything to grill because we're not in a kitchen environment. I only bought the grill. Um, if you've heard of a George Foreman grill, basically I'm gonna hold it up to anyone who needs to see it. If you can see it, a George Foreman grill is basically a grill. You plug it in, and um, I'm going to use my hand, or I'm going to use the spatula as an example. It has grooves. So when you grooves mean, uh, you know, when you put the food down, so you basically are grilling burgers or hot dogs or something easy, and each groove holds the food down, and then you close it. The reason why I have a huge one now, the George Foreman grill or any grill that um, we're not endorsing George Foreman, but this is a huge grill, kind of with a handle that goes up and down. You put the food down, you close the lid. Now, normally, technically, you're supposed to put a plate or um, a plate down to let the fat drain and so on and so forth. So you put a plate next underneath it, and not a paper plate because it's going to burn, but you put a plate underneath it, and then you close the lid, and then you grill it. Now, in terms of temperatures, burgers are 165 degrees, and I'm going to get to salmonella in a minute. Um, when you put the burger down, this one happens to beep, or there happens to be a red and green light, and it also beeps when when it's finished. Uh, Normally, for people who are blind and visually impaired, um, they get appliances that tend to beep or vibrate because that's a indication that the food is finished and so on and so forth. It's usually easier to get things that beep or vibrate, so this way you know you're finished with the food. Then you usually have an oven mitt. I do not have one here, but usually put an oven mitt on so you do not burn yourself. Also, when you go to the stove, you put an oven mitt on so you don't burn yourself. Now, there's another situation I'm going to go over again that's very important. Let's go over something which is extremely important, and that's food temperatures. You can grill in the house um, or outside. They have something called a Blackstone. Obviously, we can't have one here. That's a huge grill. Um, Now, in terms of salmonella, now this is extremely important. When grilling outside or inside, the internal temperature in terms of bacteria. Um, so if you cook it correctly, you destroy bacteria. Using a food thermometer to check the thickest part, uh, uh, a safe internal temperature is 165 degrees or Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius for steaks, chops, roast beef, pork, uh, veal, or lamb with a 3-minute rest time, 160 uh, degrees Fahrenheit for ground meats, or 71 degrees Celsius, or 165, 74 degrees Celsius. Now, if you want something rare, that's 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius. Um, Fish and shellfish also needs to reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, whole cuts of beef, pork, veal, or lamb, steaks, chops, or roasts is 145 degrees, 63 degrees Celsius, followed by a 3-minute rest time. Now, again, I do not have a thermometer, but you basically can you stick it in and then it'll tell you the temperature. You do not want to serve raw food or anything like that. Do not partially cook um, grilled meat or poultry and finish it later. This creates an environment where bacteria can grow. According to, let me get to the important here, important website. According to the USDA, and here we go. According to the USDA, let me get to the page. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm just getting to the page here. Please excuse me. According to the USDA food.gov website, the safe internal temperature chart, safe, there are safe steps in food handling and cooking storage that are essential in preventing foodborne illnesses. Now with all the situations with Legionnaire's disease and any other diseases, you especially salmonella, you really want to be careful. You can't see, smell, or taste harmful bacteria that may cause illness. Now, we have to keep food safe. And if you are challenged in any way, if you have a disability, for example, people with any diseases such as cancer or something like that, you definitely don't want to serve them raw food because they could get sicker. Um, you must wash your hands often and wash hands and surfaces. I'll get to that. Surfaces such as grills, you kind of want to wash your utensils correctly. Um, uh, we must separate raw food from cooked food. Now, I'm going to get to that right now in terms of the cutting board. Here is a cutting board with a large handle. As you can see, I have it. Make sure you have, if you want to get a handle. Now, I'm going to go over something that's important. Red cutting boards. Now, I suggest you get a cutting board with that's plastic. You can get this in any 99-cent store, a dollar store, or any kitchen store. I can give you a link to that towards the end of the show. You kind of want to get something with a larger handle. Now, red cutting boards, usually plastic is better, especially for people who kind of drop things. You don't want to get something that's fragile. um, or people that have problems with their hands. So red is for meat, so you can get a red cutting board. Green is for vegetables. Pink is for fish. Um, or white is for miscellaneous. If you're cutting, uh, let's see, um, cut if you're cutting something else that needs to go in a salad that you don't have a green cutting board available, but green is usually for vegetables. Now, in terms of um, you get yourself a sponge. This happens to be a sponge with a happy face on it, not mentioning the brand name, but um, to clean your dishes or to clean your cutting boards, you kind of want to use hot water. Using cold water will defeat the purpose. And then you just scrub it down and make sure you get all uh, the juices of the food off your cutting board. If you are cutting meat on a cutting board, you have to wash. Or if you're cutting raw meat on the cutting board, you have to wash your cutting board before you put your cooked meat on the cutting board, because then you're gonna what they call cross contamination, and I'm gonna go over that right now. What cross contamination really is, and this comes. This is very, very. I'm gonna get to more. Um, oh, by the way, when it comes to leftovers, um, leftovers is 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 73.9 degrees Celsius. Casseroles is anything in a dish. That's 165 degrees. But let's go over um, certain things when it comes to um, foodborne diseases, which is important. Oh, if anybody likes anything such as um, all poultry, breast, whole bird, legs, um, thighs, wings, ground poultry, giblets, which is the if you're gonna stuff a bird. Oh, by the way, uh, this is pre-Thanksgiving. Don't stuff your poultry, because stuffing it with bread or stuffing it with stuffing anything of that nature, you're asking for trouble when it comes to salmonella. I'll get to that in a minute. Um, let's go through foodborne illnesses. Oh, here we go. Food poisoning is illnesses caused by food contamination from bacteria such as viruses, parasites, and toxins. Infections, organisms, or their toxins are are sorry. Um, let me get sorry. Um, please excuse me. Infections, organisms, or their toxins are most common causes of food poisoning. Food poisoning symptoms may include the following. If you're eating, please excuse me, but may include the following: um, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, cramping. Most food poisoning is mild and resolves within treatment. Ensuring adequate hydration is most important act of treatment. Please consult your doctor if you get food poisoning. What are the top 10 food-borne illnesses? Okay. Infections caused by bacteria such as Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria. such as the norovirus and hepatitis A, and parasites like, I can't pronounce these, please excuse me, but one of them is toxoplasma. That's the easy one to um, other notable foodborne illnesses include caused by bacteria such as Campio, Campylobacter and Vibrio. I can't pronounce the other word. And also botulism. Now, again, I'm going to go over something. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's extremely important. So do not put a raw piece of chicken with cooked piece of chicken, because then it's going to you're going to get sick. Now, mind you, I'm a big fan of sushi. I love raw fish. Certain ones I haven't tried yet. But don't put a piece of cooked fish with raw fish, because you because then you'll get sick. Um, I mean, if fish is a little bit underdone, maybe you can get away with it, but then most likely you're gonna have to cook it. Um, Now, gravies is almost the same thing, 165 degrees. Um, I'll go over some recipes during the Thanksgiving show on November 10th, in terms of gravies and rice and certain things like that. Um, when you're, um, I normally don't like using the microwave. I only use the microwave to warm up coffee or warm up something. But what you don't want to do, for example, if you get a takeout container of Chinese food, um, the easiest way to stop bacteria, especially when you're warming up things like rice or leftover, you add a little bit of water, or gravy or whatever you want to add. Then you basically can warm it up. Um, Eating cold food can cause bacteria also. Um, and then one big thing. I've worked in food service. We only have about 12 minutes left. But I've worked in food service and before, and one of the biggest things, there's something called FIFO, first in, first out. So I'm going to use the sponge as an example. If you buy something in the store, such as um, such as lunch meat. Lunch meat consists of bologna, turkey, roast beef, so on and so forth. Um, make sure you um, make sure you smell it first before. If you have a key, if you're blind and visually impaired, fine. Uh, if you might have a keen sense of smell, if it smells off, don't eat it. Throw it away. After 3 days, you basically throw it away. Nursing homes, hospitals, rehab centers, um, any place like that. Um, Usually, if you bring a relative, something, uh, and they put it in the refrigerator, they'll the staff will discard it in 3 days, um, because then it's no good no more. Um, but in a professional environment, if you have a block of cheese that you just got in from your food truck, the new block of cheese um, goes in the it basically goes in the back, and the old stuff is in the front until the old stuff finishes. Says first in, first out. If something looks like a science experiment, I don't mean to make people laugh here, but um, if something looks green to you, or is turning color, throw it away. Now, what I'm going to do in the Thanksgiving show coming up is I'm going to give you a recipe for croutons, uh, for salad, salad croutons, and basically things for casseroles. Um, you can use day old bread. That doesn't mean week old bread. If a, if if a bagel is a day old and it's a little hard, what you do is you put it, or a piece of bread, you put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, it comes back to life again, and then you can use it for crouton, or you can use it, um, for something in a recipe. Um, but try not to eat anything a week old, especially things like eggs, because you'll get sick. Um, and which brings me to this. If you have, I didn't bring any egg with me, but if you have an egg, and but if by mistake spilled it on your cutting board, you have to clean your cutting board right away, because then you'll get salmonella, or you'll get very sick. Um, Things like egg drop soup, and maybe next time, before the holiday, or actually during the holiday show, I'll bring some in. Egg drop soup, what they do is Chinese food restaurants, and I'll give the recipe for egg drop soup um during the Thanksgiving show. What they do is they take raw egg, and you drop it in, and that's why they call it egg drop soup. But you're putting it in the hot broth, and it cooks it. And things like pho, which is a Vietnamese soup, you're putting raw beef into a broth, and it's cooking it. So that still has to be cooked at 165 degrees. Um, Now, things like, I'm going to go over some. I don't know if anybody in our audience today has tried this, but and this is kind of the last thing before we end. Um, I don't suggest you do this if you've never had raw steak, but this is in terms of salmonella. Um, Steak tartare is a dish consisting of raw ground steak mixed with raw egg, onion, and seasonings. If you have a weak stomach, I do not suggest you eat that. But I can make some next time, and I'll show you what it looks like. Um, they usually pour hot gravy over it, and they eat it, and they mix it up with seasonings, and it's called steak tartare. And the last thing before we end, raw eggs. If anybody has seen the Rocky movies, the first Rocky, Sylvester Stallone puts raw eggs in a glass, and runners, joggers. Years ago, they used to eat raw eggs for energy. I do not suggest you do that, because raw egg contains salmonella. Um, they used to be able to do that, and so on and so forth. Don't eat raw eggs. Um, you can get extremely sick. And for more information on anything you've seen today, um, or heard today in terms of foodborne illnesses or anything, please go to www.fda.gov for the um, or the salmonella stuff, or anything that you've in terms of foodborne illnesses, and anything you want to see on Able to Cook, you can go to www.orcamedia.net. That's www.orcamedia.net. Please tune in to the webinar with me, Cooking with Larry, or Cooking with Lawrence. We're Able to Cook Part 3 on November 10th, 2025, for the Thanksgiving recipe show. and I'll also go through more salmonella situations when it comes to cutting boards, especially with turkey and poultry. Stay tuned. I'm Lauren Seiler. My wife is not here today. Uh, Thank you for watching Able to Cook, and thank you to the Brain Injury Associate, Brain Injury Alliance of Vermont for partnering with Able to Cook and Able to On Air. I'm Lauren Seiler. See you next time.